Welcome to Cosmic Channels. I'm your host, Braden. This is your Cosmic Call-In show. And tonight we have a special guest. If you've been enjoying the music of Season 8, you've been like, you know what? Holy fuck, has the music improved 8,000 times. That's because of this man, Peter, who is the genius behind 99.9% of the music we've been using this season of Count Mortlach. How's it going, Peter?
It is going well, Braden. How about you?
Good, man. I mean, we have a ton of correspondence over the years, so it's nice to put a face to the name. And fucking,
yeah,
that's a dope Conan. We talked about it before. Legendary.
I wish I had another sword to hold to match him. But if I hold my hands in the right spot, it'll look like we're sharing.
It looks perfect. Like it lines up so perfect that you could do that. That's how you should have started, and then you just lower it down.
Missed opportunities. Damn.
Whatever. It's all good. We got a caller on the line. The lines are hopefully we're gonna have hot lines tonight.
The lines are hot.
And we've got Andrew from Buffalo's on the line. Andrew, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Right on, Andrew. How's it going tonight?
Not bad, not bad.
What do you got for us tonight?
Okay, so I'm the one that mentioned the whole demonic oppression case.
Oh, okay. So I'm interested. What's the difference between demonic possession and demonic oppression?
So the oppression would be basically, it's basically when a person is, they're in communication with like a demon. They don't know it, and then it's basically giving them symptoms of like depression. It's making them think that they're like going crazy, basically, which is different than a possession, which is like a full-on demonic entry into, I guess, one person's body.
Okay, so let's hear this.
Yeah.
Let's hear the story. I'm concerned already.
Yeah, I'm already kind of bummed for you, Andrew. What's going on?
Okay, so this is it's roughly like 2012 when this happened. It doesn't involve, like, I'm involved in the case. It doesn't involve me. I was basically involved with going to a place around Buffalo called the Hinsdale House, which is it's like a super popular, famous haunt out here. And basically we got in contact with this group that was doing like basically a reno of the Hinsdale House. And one of the guys that was part of the group, he was apparently he wasn't actually an exorcist, but he was he went to Rome apparently, and he like got taught how to do an exorcism. And while we were doing this,
that's like learning how to cook Thai food in Thailand. Like that's this guy's legit.
Yeah, it's weird because I didn't believe that. I didn't believe any of this at first. Like I was part of a paranormal group, and I'm like a skeptic. Like if I don't see it, I'm not going to believe that it's something that's actually a thing. So when he told us this, I'm like, I honestly didn't believe him. But he had like a book from Rome. He had like documentation saying that he was part of like the exorcists from Rome. He was taught by exorcists that were from the Vatican, and he showed us all this stuff. So basically what happened was during this case that we were during like the reno of the Hinsdale House that we were helping with, one of my buddies that was part of our paranormal group, he got a phone call from his grandma, and his grandma said that she had a friend who lived in apartments that were kind of close to where we lived in Buffalo, and basically that she was having some sort of like weird demonic presence. So it was kind of a weird coincidence that this happened, because it was probably like a week or two apart from when we started doing this reno in Hinsdale to when this like demonic oppression case happened.
Do you tell us that because you think there's maybe some sort of connection?
It's weird. Yeah, 100%. I think there's a connection. I don't know why we would. I don't know. I don't know why we would get a case like that. Like why that would get brought up.
While you're
it was just a weird coincidence. Really weird.
So this is like a famous kind of like haunted house. You're working on demoing it, and then you get a call like with this issue with a grandmother.
Yeah, yeah. So, and the Hinza house basically is, like they had like I think it was like a haunting, like which was on like Bravo or like the Travel Channel or something. I don't remember what channel it was on, but they actually had an episode talking about the Hinza house, and the Hinza house is popular because they apparently it's apparently like a demonically possessed house, and there was families there. There's like a whole backstory to it. It's like super interesting, and like we swing into this, and we have this case. So we have this guy come with us. We go to the house, and the lady, she basically plays a like. It was really weird. She plays a answering machine message for us. And on the answering machine message, it was her friend talking about something to do with like a church event, and then over the top of it, there's an EVP, and the EVP, which was crazy. It's basically like a demonic voice saying something. I don't remember what it said, but it was there. Like we still have that EVP, and it was some sort of demonic presence. Now, I didn't think that there was anything to do with this. Like, I didn't think that the case was like anything, because I mean, people get like weird interference on phone calls. They'll get like weird things on messages, and you know, it's 99% of the time it's nothing. But we get to the house, we start doing this investigation to see if it's anything at all, and we have this like exorcist with us basically, and we start doing the case. We start going through everything. Everything's fine. We're asking questions. We're just trying to see like the state of mind of this lady, and I mean, for the most part, I mean, she seemed pretty much fine, pretty much saying nothing crazy that would like alarm you. And then we start just getting these random things happening. Like we start hearing scratching from like her bedroom while we're in the living room. We start hearing like voices that we can't tell what the voices are, and then playing EVP, like playing recordings back to see if there's any EVPs. There's nothing. And then stuff really starts picking up when he starts going into his so-called exorcist book. And basically it's, from what I can remember, like a lot of it was in Latin, a lot of it was Bible verses, a lot of it was stuff talking about like Michael the Archangel and stuff like that. And at that point, I'm still a skeptic, and stuff starts picking up, because he starts asking her questions about God, about her faith, about like basically stuff that's like questions that are in this book that he has. And she just starts acting weird. She just starts acting like she's like not in a state of mind, which is completely different than how she was when we first started interacting with her. She just starts like ignoring questions and trying to switch questions. She like just doesn't want anything to do with what's going on. And that's when I kind of started flipping. I kind of started thinking, okay, there's something weird's going on. I don't know if it is actually demonic. I don't know if it's actually just like the lady is actually kind of crazy. But I know something's going on. So we keep going through this whole thing. He keeps asking questions, and then he starts asking questions about Michael the Archangel. And he starts saying Latin prayers, and it basically causes her to like freeze up. And we go through this whole thing, and we have to say prayers with him, and we have to like pull out like rosaries. And she basically, again, she's like still frozen up, and it just like something just snaps, and then nothing happens. She's completely fine, completely doesn't remember anything that she was saying, like basically not answering questions that we were asking her. And we stayed with her for maybe like 30 minutes after that just to make sure that everything was fine. And everything was fine. There was nothing wrong with her.
Thank God you were there with the big guns. I mean, that
that
must be like going to the bar with your tough friend. You know what I mean? You get a little, you're like, okay, well, all right, you're dealing. This is your thing. You're dealing with this. Because like, goddamn, as soon as I'd start hearing the scratching on the walls, like I mean, my go-to would be like, are we smudging this? I don't even know what to use for smudge, but that's all I have, right? So
right. And he basically he leaves her with some holy water and he calls it a day. And we don't hear anything from this lady, but we keep going back to the Hinsdale house to do stuff.
He gives it to her like a prescription. He's like, hey, dose two of this twice a day and 6 Hail Marys for a week until it clears up.
Pretty much, just to make sure that stuff's not there. Now the crazy thing is, so we start doing more stuff at the Hinsdale house and completely forget about this lady. And now this is 2012. I'm working at GameStop, and the guy that I'm working with, he's into the paranormal stuff too, and he kind of goes out and do investigations with us and whatnot. And he is I guess you would say he's a psychic medium. He's like a channeler. I don't know. And he starts going with us to the Hinsdale house. And what happens is my buddy gets a phone call from the lady again, and she says that shit's happening. And we're like, what the fuck? So we have to take the exorcist guy back out there, and then we take the psychic medium guy with us there, and we basically have to do a whole second investigation to see if it's her crazy or if it's the whole thing all over again. And when we're doing it the second time, it's even crazier because we get more scratching on the walls. We get in her bedroom, in the closet, the doors start opening and there's scratches on the walls. There's more voices that are out of nowhere. And we have to go through a second round of the same thing. And basically, as far as I know, after that second time, there was nothing. And that is like half of the story of like 3 stories that go with this.
So the second time he does the same thing, like it just maybe just needed a little bit of a follow-up appointment to finish it, whatever was there off.
That's what I'm assuming. Like I don't know. I honestly to this day have no idea if just because we were going to a place that was supposedly demonically haunted, that doing this was somehow in our heads that we were dealing with some sort of a demonic presence and this person was demonically oppressed. I don't know to this day. But as far as I know, there was nothing that happened after that second time we went there.
Did you go, were you working after the second time? Did you have more stuff to do at the Hinsdale house?
Yeah, the Hinsdale house, we did stuff there for a long time, and I've got stories about that place. I mean, that's probably one of the craziest places I've ever been to in my life, and definitely something that you guys should look into.
Yeah, it's I kind of looked at it. They say it's one of the most haunted houses in all the area. I don't know what the area is.
Yes.
I'm guessing.
And it looks like
it's
event, right? You can book it too, Andrew?
What's that?
You can book it too, it looks like. It says you can have an overnight investigation and bring up to 6 people and do an overnight there?
You can. And it's crazy because at the time when we did that started happening. It was a different group, and now there's a different person that owns the house that does this. But I mean, I've spent basically until 6 o'clock in the morning there, and we've had stuff happen. So I'm assuming that the 2 things were part of one thing, and it was somehow a weird coincidence that we had somebody that was part of that house that also knew how to do some sort of demonic exorcisms.
So when I'm just trying to make a loose connection here. So when you were first in the Hinsdale house, did you have this person with you the first time who could do exorcisms?
We did. He basically he's the one that introduced us to the house.
So because in my head, what I'm thinking is like whatever this thing was, because you said like maybe it kind of felt like it was maybe connected, where it was like pissed off maybe that you were there, but it knew it's like, well, they got the big guns with them, so it's like if I fuck around here, I'm gonna find out. But you know what? I'm through the force or whatever, however they work. They're like, I can tell that grandma's a little sensitive to this stuff. I'm going to her house as like retribution, payback, right? This is some sort of actual evil entity.
And that's kind of how I think. I kind of think that's how it worked, because like my buddy had things that happened like later on, and he doesn't like talk about that stuff, and like we had crazy stuff that happened. So I that's definitely something that's possible that could have happened.
Yeah, that's terrifying. It's terrifying. I don't know if I could stay there. I'd have to roll heavy. Like I would need some. Definitely, we would have to be getting. I'd have to be booking an exorcist or something to come with someone who knew what they were doing, because I don't need my dumbass there solo dealing with these things at the Himsdale house. It's just so wild, like the scratching, and then, the answer machine, like you said, I could chalk that up to, fucking man. Sometimes you record the weirdest audio shit, and you're like,
right,
I don't know. And sometimes I'm like, what was that? Was this ghost? Was this whatever? But it's audio's fucking weird, so you can chalk that up to whatever. But like the scratching on the walls and like everyone hearing it, and like just how weird she was being, like no dementia or like Alzheimer's or something like that, like that you could explain this away with.
No, not that I know of. No,
like
that's the weird thing. Like I'm still like to this day. That's like 12 years ago. I still have no idea what happened.
I just feel too like your buddy would have been like, "Yo, we're going to my grandma's. By the way, she's got early onset dementia, so like if there was kind of like a condition that she would like, I feel like you would have been given a heads up."
Right.
So. That's terrifying, man. Like, what do you What are your final thoughts on that? Like, having seen that and experienced that.
I don't know. I still I'm still skeptical on everything, and I've done paranormal research, and I've done investigations. I've done all that stuff for a long time, and it's still one of the most puzzling things that's ever happened to me. And I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if it was like some weird like phantom dream type thing situation. I don't know if it was a connection between the two things. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a wild account, man. And you're the first caller. You got another one you wanna? We always let the first caller do 2 stories. So if you want that second story.
I can go if you want me. I can go into a little bit of the Hinsdale stuff.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
It's in New York, right?
That's correct. Yeah. It's like right by a town in New York called Olean. It's maybe like 15, 20 minutes away from there. And it's probably like an hour and a half, 2-hour drive from Buffalo.
I'm seeing that some people refer to it as the Dandy House, and I prefer that way better because it sounds less scary.
Yeah, the Dandy House sounds like a great time.
Yeah, like I'd fucking party at the Dandy House. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because the reason why it's called the Dandy House is because the Dandy House, or the Dandy family, owned that house, which their story is what made it famous. So they basically went through some sort of weird entity type situation there, and they ended up like I can't remember off the top of my head how long they like stayed there, but they stayed there for a period of time, and they ended up leaving the house, and they left everything that they owned at the house because of what was going on there.
Yeah, would have done the same. That's for sure.
Well, you hear like I've heard so many stories now, and especially like one that's of like people buying stuff on Facebook Marketplace, bringing it to their house, and then whatever item they brought home has like, has some sort of spirit attached to it. So it's like at that point, if you're truly like, there is something evil in my house, is it safe to bring anything with you? Like if it can if it's going to attach itself to anything, like, yeah, leave it all behind. I'm surprised they didn't torch the house on their way out.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I agree. I would have probably done the same thing. I'm honestly surprised that house is still up there. I mean, I guess it is kind of like a historical place now. But I mean, like that whole area is apparently like the whole reason why there's stuff that goes on there is because apparently there's like Indian burial grounds or like Indian like a settlement was there or something that was basically claimed by settlers, and like they took it over. Because like when we went there, we did a full investigation when we were there, and there's woods in the back because it's basically a wooded area. And there's parts that are cleared out. There's a pond and whatnot, but there's woods in the back. We went into the back, and apparently like one of the things that will happen is you will go in the woods and you will hear like kind of like drumming or like chanting in the back. And it's always super faint, so you can't tell where it is. We had an EVP that had that like chanting and drumming on it. And this night, the same night when we drove back and we were listening to all of our stuff in the car ride home, we heard the drumming, we heard the chanting, and we're like, holy crap, like we caught this, like this is like huge. We record it, or we rewind it, we go back, we try to listen to it again, and it's completely gone off of that section of the recording. And then there's no evidence of it whatsoever on any of the audio files that we have from that place.
As you were driving?
As we were driving, it's complete, like we heard it while we were driving. We played it back while we were driving, nothing on there. Then we, took it to our computers to check everything.
If it's like a proximity
nothing
thing,
on
like,
there.
I wonder if you would have driven back to the area, played it again, if you would have heard it again.
I mean, that's possible. I mean, I haven't been to that place in such a long time. I mean, it's very, very possible. But that's like one of the 5 weird things that's happened there.
The house looks terrifying. Like it 100%. You could have showed me a picture of this house and you've been like, guess what atrocity happened here? And I would have been like, murder, like murder for sure. An axe murder. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, and well, I mean, that's like the legend of the place. Like the legend of the place is that late 1700s, early 1800s, when they still had like horse and wagon like trails and whatnot. Like that was a main place on there. There was originally like a barn house there, and while people were driving on it, I believe it was a family, they got stopped there and they were murdered, and family members were hung on the tree that was outside of the house, like down the road.
Yeah, that'll.
So it's like this weird cyclone, like hurricane of like weird stuff that keeps happening there.
It's weird. I'm looking at pictures of it, and there's one picture where people look like they tried to doll it up.
Yeah,
and you're like, listen, it still looks terrifying. You can put some little American flag banners under the windows. It's this sucker's still haunted.
It's still terrifying.
You're not fooling anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, this just looks like the place that they would absolutely want to film a sequel to Evil Dead or something at.
Yeah.
Like this is just like absolute no way.
Yeah, I fully agree. The first time I drove up to that place, I was like, what is this? Like, this doesn't even look like it's a real house. It looks like it's something that's like pulled right out of the movie.
Yeah, it really does. Like, that's what it looks like. It looks like if you would have told me, been like, hey, this is a famous house from a really famous horror film, I would have been like, I bet you're right. I don't know which one. Like, I would have been like, yeah, that's what it looks like. So
yeah, 100%. I agree.
I love it. I want to buy it. I mean, it's so interesting that you get these like these houses that just kind of take on legend and have such these rich histories. I just found out there's one in my town, and someone like wrote a book on it, like about their experience, like living in it. And I've been trying to find the address. I've just been busy, but I know it's called like 323 Alder or something like that, and it's just someone wrote like a book about their time in this haunted house in my town. And I was like, and people live in it now who's not this guy? Like, do they know about this book?
Right.
I always want to go and ask and be like, hey, is this house haunted? Is it weird? to the new people that live there. But terrifying stuff, man. Andrew, thank you so much for calling in and
No
sharing
problem.
the tales. And I'm sure you got more you can call back in with and share another time.
I will definitely do that.
Thank you so much for being the first caller, man.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Peace, buddy.
All right.
How much? Would you stay there? Would you stay there another weekend?
So it says it's $350 for a night, up to 6 people. So I feel like we could get a handful of friends to go in on this, no problem. I could do a night. I'm a skeptic, but also just like, it's probably a bad place for a very good reason. So
Yeah.
I don't feel compelled like I need to go stay there. I mean, I've had a couple of weird experiences similar to that
Well,
on
hey,
my
listen,
own. But
the boys in a weekend at the Dandy House. That sounds like a good time. Like you paint it like that, boys. We're going to the Dandy House for a week.
We're gonna go have some beers. We're gonna have a
Yeah.
couple bonfires.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have a great time with our friends at the Dandy House.
Yeah, you're like that sounds like a good time.
And then you roll up and you're just like,
You're like,
what fresh hell is this?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the hard part for me because I'm like, I will know. I got a good read on places. Like when you go into, you can kind of feel the vibe
Yeah.
of the place. And like, listen, as a former carpenter stuff, I can see the beauty on the inside. Maybe that house got good bones. Maybe I'm gonna walk in there and be like, good bones in this house,
Good bones.
right? Or maybe you're gonna walk in and be like, holy, oh, I don't like it.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think there was a caller on hold, but we'll see if they remain on the line for us or not.
Sure.
Yeah, it'd be a tough sell for me. It'd be a really tough sell. I could do a night for sure. No problem, I think.
I think a night could happen. I think a night might be. I mean, also depends time of year, how you're feeling. Everybody says, what you bring with you is absolutely going to affect the experience, around alleged, paranormal or supernatural activity or hot spots or stuff like that. So
I've never really been at to a legit famous haunt. Well, that's not true, but I've never done a real investigation. Not that I'm a paranormal investigator in any sense, but
right.
It would be fun to be like, all right, we're gonna set up some fucking cameras right in the corners. We're gonna get some all the boys are gonna have EMF readers and GoPros, right?
Yep.
And right, we're
gonna film our own episode of Fear.
Yeah. Just all face shots.
Right.
The lines are open though. If you got a story, you got a UFO story. You've gone to a famous haunted house. The number 1-833-703-0424. That's 1-833-703-0424. You can call and share your story. Any account. You fucking seen Bigfoot? You've seen anything strange or weird, paranormal? Call in. Fucking tell us tonight. Fuck you. Call us.
Yeah. Fuck you. Call us. That's right.
But yeah, I mean, I would do it. I think it would be a fun, cool experience. Because I've been we took paranormal stuff to, the Austin Capitol building.
Oh.
And we walked around and we were like, that was a really cool experience. Every door is open, you can go talk to everyone. So we were talking to people, and we went down these stairs, and then it was just no one there. We're like, I don't know if we're supposed to be here. We're kind of in the basement. And this guy came out and he was like, oh, usually people aren't down here. We're like, oh, are we not supposed to? He goes, no, feel free to look around. And then we're like, oh, has anyone ever died here? And he's like, well, actually, tons of. He started telling us about all these historical ghosts and the red woman and the white woman. And he's like, you know what? Someone actually jumped to their death from the top and fell through the floor into the basement over there. And did I lose? I lost you for a second there. But we got a call on the line too, same time.
Yeah.
Caller. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Holy crap, Braden. This is Joe from Dallas. I got through the first time tonight.
Hey, Joe, how's it going?
That's going pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Not bad. I'm here with the Count Mortlach composer Peter joining me tonight. What do you got for us?
Have you had your first dream call for the night yet?
No, I have not. So you're it.
Okay, I beat the dream police. That's
Unless you've been dreaming about me, you're gonna get hung up on. So.
Yeah, there you go. All right, brothers. Hey, check it out. This is something I had from when I was a child, and it still to this day messes with me. I had a dream about did you ever watch Fantasia from Disney when you were a little kid?
I fucking hated that movie. I hated that broom scene that gave me anxiety as a kid.
Yes, it was freaky as shit, right?
Yeah. It really fucked me up.
You remember the night on Bald Mountain where the big black gargoyle thing, they had the little things walking around the mountain with the lights and shit?
Yeah, okay.
So I had a dream, and I swear, I don't know exactly what age I was, but I was between 5 and 7 somewhere. I remember this like it was yesterday, except 5 to 7 somewhere in that age range. I had a dream that there was something like that came and visited me in my bedroom, and it was like this creature in a blue robe, and it had a light bulb for a head.
That's fucking weird.
So. Yeah, so now that I'm older and I'm more than the alien theorist, I'm like, what kind of creature would have came in that had a light bulb for a head?
Oh, so you're actually thinking, you're starting to think as an adult, you're like, maybe what I'm thinking is a dream wasn't a dream at all?
Yeah, something might have came and, gave me a visit, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's fucking freaky to think about, though. Because,
it had a...
Let's go. Hold on. What was the description of this thing? It looked like that white gargoyle thing, but with a light on it?
No, it didn't look anything like the gargoyle. Just you remember the walking around that mountain, there was a little thing that looked like the people walking up the mountain with the light?
Yeah, it was like that light.
There was people walking up the mountain in my dream. There was people. It wasn't a mountain. I lived in Florida. I'd never seen a mountain at the time. But there were people on a path, and they had lights, and they had like a light-colored blue robe, and they had in my childhood mind, it was like a light bulb. They had a light bulb for a head and a blue robe.
That's weird.
And I don't remember eyes or anything. I remember it, to this day they had their head was a light bulb, and they had a blue robe on.
I wonder if because people say just kids are just fucking tapped into some weird juju. Just for whatever means, or however, if it's not a brain development thing or something that gets shut off later on in life. But I wonder if it's if it's something where if kids, especially younger kids, I wonder if their ability to astral project is greater, but they don't even realize they're doing it. So they go and they travel in their dreams to these other places that are real. They're projecting themselves through other dimensions and seeing things because they haven't blocked that part off through whatever reason.
I think there's a little bit thinner veil or something there. Cause remember I called you before and told you about my grandfather that I saw when he passed away when I was 5.
Yeah.
And I saw him by the refrigerator right there, and I was 5 years old when he passed away, and this was after that. But I was sitting there, I was like, shit, it's Thursday, and I remember there was something going on. There was a dream I had. And I remember last week listening, we get one dream call at night, and I wanted to call you about this one.
Yeah.
Dude, it was freaking weird.
It's, they do make me think, especially recurring childhood dreams, I always kind of find fascinating. And listen, and not some people will be like, oh, those are from trauma. I'm talking some people don't have childhood traumas and have reoccurring nightmares and dreams that they can't explain. They're fucking weird as hell. And
that's there was no trauma here. It was just out of the blue. Yeah, and I'll never forget. It's like I said, I was 5 to 7 years old. That's to this day remember this dream. And it was if you think about your alien gray or something like that, what's their head shape like?
Fucking, I don't know, big old.
Like a fucking light bulb.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and if they're fucking lit up, I mean, it does feel culty. When you explain it to me, they're all.
That's what freaks me out to think about nowadays. I was like, I saw these weird people just walking all around me. It's like they weren't really carrying me. They were kind of ushering me up this path. and they were in the blue robes, and they had I couldn't see eyes or facial features or anything on, but they had their head. For my young mind, all I could see, their head looked like a light bulb. So they had these blue robes, shiny blue robes, light blue, like baby blue, like North Carolina college blue,
Keenan,
and they were shiny. And they had had a light bulb for a head.
There's a person, Keenan Simpson, in the chat says, children's pineal glands haven't calcified from the fluoride yet, so they're still tapped into the matrix.
Hasn't calcified yet.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, something didn't calcify in there somewhere. I had some weird shit going on too.
So as an adult, like, what are your thoughts on it?
I really don't know, man. I mean, as you know, as a child, you know, you see some stuff on a movie or TV, and you know, who knows? It could be something, might not be anything, but it was just something that crossed my mind. And it's still from that long ago for me to still remember. It was something, you know. It's whether it was, you know, something actually happened or was just a very impactful dream, but it was impactful enough that I remember it. And I'm 40 years old now, and I still remember it to this day.
Yeah, strange, man. Maybe someone else has had something similar, and they'll be like, "Hey, listen, I saw the fucking blue-robed people too." Wouldn't that be kind of cool? Like some sort of like.
I've actually tried to look it up on Google. Like, what does it mean if you have dreams of like light bulb head people?
Oh, dude, the people seen Hat Man. Hat Man's a thing.
Hat Man is everywhere,
right? It's so that's a phenomenon. Lots of people see it now. Is it?
You got Hat Man, you got light bulb man.
Yeah, right. Is it popular? Like, do people see it now? Is it perpetuated because we've?
Yeah, I never found anything. Unfortunately, I thought it might be, a thing. You know, like the sleep paralysis and stuff. It's like a lot of people have that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So maybe.
But maybe there's
people
people
out
do
there.
Some research into it and Googled it, didn't find anything.
I would say there's a way greater portion of people who do not share their dreams than those who do share their dreams. So, you know, maybe someone's going to listen to this and be like, man, I've had a similar one.
Yeah.
So,
thank goodness I've never had no sleep paralysis. That sounds terrifying. I've seen the shadow people, like I told you, in Florida, but I've never had sleep paralysis. That's got to be terrible.
I'd do it once. I wouldn't mind having it. I wouldn't mind having it once.
Yeah, I know. I've heard your story. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, that's got to suck, dude. I've never had that. I don't want it.
So, hey, Joe, thank you so much for calling in and sharing that story. And hopefully someone else, inspires someone else to call in and share, or maybe they have a similar
Yeah,
experience.
if anybody else has a story about light bulb people, let's hear it, brother.
All right, man. Thank you so much for calling in.
So, all right, Braden. Love you guys, and talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.
All right.
What a beauty. You ever have fucked up dreams when you were a kid?
Oh, loads. I could only hear about maybe 20% of that caller's call, though. The audio came in and out. I'm not sure what happened there with the call.
Oh, weird. Yeah, I saw your video cut out, so I don't know. Might be just bad connection.
The parts that I did hear, though, yep, I definitely had some wild dreams as a kid. The whole recurring dream thing is very real. That is like, if you're going through anything good, bad, and different, your brain can manifest a lot of weird stuff, man. I noticed too, I mean, not that I remember all of my dreams from when I was a kid. I don't know if anybody remembers all of their dreams ever, period. But since I had my surgery 10 years ago, I had a chunk of my brain had to get addled because I had a tumor up there. My dreams just got more vivid and more insane and just so real sometimes. I like wake up and I'm like absolutely stunned. Like I'm just like, I don't know what I just experienced, but felt pretty damn real.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's always kind of like that dream state. It's like, what are you tapping into? Like, is it really just your, like, is it, because I've talked about it with Zell and stuff, like your brain's the best liar. Like it lies all the time. It
sure does.
It's filling in gaps, just processing all the time. You don't even realize the amount of information that your brain's just making up on the spot, instantaneously.
Oh yeah,
predictive.
It's this wild electrochemical
AI
thing. Yeah, it's homeborn AI or whatever, but it's insane. Like, a lot of the inspiration for the music, that you've been using for the show too, is like from recurring nightmares. And there's a whole theme to the first, I mean, any of the records that I've put out that have the number in their title, that's all tied together because they're all similar recurring dreams that just keep getting further and further along. And, you know, there's no rhyme or reason to when I've had them. It's just I have them and all right, cool. But I'm not certain why, but I've woken up and I'll hear the melodies for certain instruments. Like I'll hear them, wake up, and then have to come here in my office and start recording and laying stuff down to get that stuff out. It is weird stuff.
Now,
brain is
just
insane.
Because I'm interested because you said did that start happening like pre-tumor?
No, I had some dreams, you know, that I, you know, without going into details, that I still remember to this day that were really vivid, but since the surgery and having all the stuff done, you know, to my brain, like it's definitely been way more like that I can remember since, you know, over the last 10 years, and way more vivid. Like I remember specific stuff, like, you know, going to therapy, my therapist's like, hey, if you have any of those dreams, write down as much as you can with that you remember when you wake up. See if you can like do a little self-interpretation or anything like that. And it's been a really helpful exercise for certain things. And then sometimes it's just
you're like, why were the spiders driving the bus?
Yeah, like sometimes it literally is that crazy. Like it's just so intense. Like it's not just a visual stimulus. Like, you know, I'll wake up 2 a.m. and I'm like, I gotta get over here and, you know, sit down at, you know, my synthesizer or keyboard and just start playing this stuff out. And
it's so interesting.
It's crazy.
Start to get those melodies. That's fascinating. I mean, it's also like they're haunting. But like in like a beautiful. Also, you know what I mean. I'm like, I fucking love them, but I'm like listening and I'm like, ooh, this one is fucking hitting the scary feels for sure.
It's kind of the name of the game. That dark ambient. It's gotta hit you a certain way, you know.
So, what are your thoughts on like UFOs, aliens, and that kind of stuff?
Man, I was hoping we'd talk about that today. I definitely think there has to be intelligent life somewhere in this vast, great universe. UFOs, have I personally seen anything? No. Does that mean they're not out there? Absolutely not. I also attribute my interest in them by a large and sincere love of the X-Files. My mom was like, she's like, you cannot watch this show. You're too young, because it started coming out when I was like 6. Yeah, and she's like, you can't watch that show.
We're probably close in age, because I was the same. And then it was that like, well, now I want to watch it. Yeah,
like don't tell me not to do something, because that's only going to make me want to do it more. And then as I got older, you know, it started just like, you know, like space has always just been like an interest of mine. Like I always loved reading about that stuff, and, you know, all the NASA missions and stuff. And it's there has to be stuff out there. There has to be intelligent life out there. You know, all these people out there that, you know, this is like a discussion I was having with my dad about it pretty recently too. He was like, you know, it can't all be real. And I was like, well, yeah, there are hoaxes and there are people that are just looking for attention, but like, would all of these people that have seen these things or have photographed stuff or all this, how could they all possibly be making up the same story if they've never met that person, or if they haven't seen any of this, you know, evidence or photographs or recordings or anything from other people? It's just, it's got to be out there.
There is. I mean, I've kind of looked into enough cases now over the last 8-9 years that it's like there's ones that stick out above the pack. Where you're just like, why the fuck would this guy ruin his life to tell this story? He didn't gain anything from it. He literally was just like, I have to share this because it happened and it changed his life forever. And he's just like, I want not like there. I've shared my story. That's it. I don't want any press. I don't want anything. And you're like, fucking why? What then? Like, what a weird flex if that's a fucking hoax. You're like, guy's just gonna come out, say this stuff, have a little bit enough evidence to be like something happened to him, and then just ride off into the sunset, ride in this light, and this like what a weird fucking way. Like, you know, you see like the fucking Fire in the Sky guy. I always forget his name now. Red hair.
I'm gonna blank on it too.
Yeah, real fucking limp handshake. That guy. See, I shook his hand. Super limp, like unbelievably limp. That's one of my go-tos for, you know, when I'm talking to these people, is like just get their vibe. And this guy struck me as fucking, what's his name? God damn it! In the chat, who am I talking about? Limp.
Yeah, we need
fish handshake. What's his name? Travis Walton. Thank you, Xavier. Yes, Travis Walton. Travis Walton has the limp. I've never shook a more limp wrist.
Ugh.
Like just like I was like, what's going on? And he's like dead behind the eyes. And then like, so we were talking about it after, because we kind of talked to him for a little bit, and then like, I think Dan was like, well, I think he maybe did get abducted because how fucking weird he was. And I was like, I don't know. I kind of just got a fucking greaseball vibe from him. That's the vibe he gave me.
Loads of people claim they've been abducted or see shit or, you know, experience all this stuff. Now, his whole incident, I mean, I don't know, man. That's one where I'm like, well, but it's also kind of like, you know, the same thing. What was that? They did an episode on Unsolved Mysteries about it on the recent Netflix retelling of the show. All those people in Western Michigan just seeing all the UFOs and the lights,
yeah,
like across multiple towns. I can't remember the name of the towns and any of that, but that one stuck out to me because it's like, one, why would all of these people go on a show like Unsolved Mysteries and potentially out themselves as like, someone might think I'm crazy that I'm coming out and saying this. But to have all of these people see the same fucking thing and have the same experience, and they didn't know each other, like, how could that possibly be completely fabricated? Like, there's just no way. Like, there's got to be truth to some of these, like, real serious truth to some of them.
I mean, that's kind of like my stance on it too, because some of these get so big where you're like, how? Like I don't understand that many people jumping on a bold lie.
Right.
Right? Because like if in my town right now there was a news report that came out and it was like, fucking UFO streaks in the sky looking for people, I am the fucking UFO guy, and I would be like, God damn, I wish I would have seen that. I can't imagine calling and being like, I seen it too, and it was green and then describe it the same. Like, it's those ones with the multiple witnesses fucking get me. Like what's the one, the little fucking, was it in Brazil, the Varina incident, where it's like all those fucking people saw like there was like a crash landing, and then it's like Varina, Brazil or something, and it's like,
oh yeah.
And then they saw that little creature and shit, and they're like, oh, and there's just like the police then started shutting like roadblocks around the area, and you're like, all these people saw these things, and you're like, well, all these random people in a third world country in like a poor area are just gonna band together and lie for what? The UFO money for tourism? Like, it doesn't make sense. The mayor's like, please, everybody, come forward with more stories so we can, you know, set up a UFO monument that 15 people are going to take a picture in front of a year. Like, yeah,
like you're not making millions on that. You're not. So like, no. What are all of these people going to get out of potentially having seen the same thing and then lying about it? No, all these people would probably have seen something like that.
So Duchess of Doobie says, what if we're the aliens and the trees and fauna are the native species of Earth?
Hearing that just fucked me up. That is a serious thing.
Yeah.
How come I've never thought of it that way?
Because I've always kind of, you know, if you think about it, we don't live in balance. Like, everything else lives in balance, in harmony with the surroundings. We do not. We fucking consume. We're a fucking virus on this planet, like of just constant consumption. And listen, so it kind of makes sense. Like, there's the theories that we're just, there was civilization on Mars, right? And that got whatever happened to Mars, and Mars inhabitants made their way here, and we're an ancient species that came from Mars. And it's like, yes, 'cause, they talk about the missing link and stuff, and there's between the like, we just don't really know. Like, when we look back, we're like, okay, there's the earliest humans, and we were hunter gatherers at this time, and then we find a new discovery, and we're like, well, our whole history's fucking blown up, we have no idea now. And like, now it's like, it's Gilbeki Tepe 12,000 years ago, a mile up, not around any water, is the birthplace of agriculture. You're like, why would they build this civilization there? It doesn't make any sense. Why were they building? Unless they were worried about biblical flooding and stuff like it's. I don't know. I've always kind of thought that. Like, we don't live in harmony. That's
no.
And you put us anywhere, like, as a species, anything else on Earth, like, just naked, born, survive, and it's like, there's not a lot of areas on Earth where I can survive naked. You know what I mean? Where I'm getting rashes, buddy. Huge heat rashes if I walk too long in this humidity. Right?
I think of maybe a couple of beaches in Europe, maybe a couple of interesting clubs domestically and abroad.
Yeah.
That's maybe about as good as your chances are gonna get, Braden.
If I did not have a house where I am at in Vancouver Island, and I had to just try to survive naked in the thicket with no tools, I don't know if I'm surviving. I think I'm dying, like, for sure, of exposure, for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, Vancouver. I mean, I watched Alone a couple of times. I don't need to be out there in the winter to see how these people are suffering, and that's with equipment and experience and all these other things. You put my ass out there, as the Lord made me. Yeah. I'm gonna freeze my ass off and die.
Yeah, but it's gonna be fucking naked and embarrassed out there.
Naked and embarrassed and dead.
In short order, dead.
Yeah, in short order.
It's like, but that's the thing. So just like, when you think about that, you're like, I cannot survive without the things we've produced as a species through our technology and stuff. Then you're kind of like, it's weird that there's no other creature that's even similar to that, where they're like, well, if these motherfuckers don't make a jacket, they're gonna die. Like, right? I guess horseshoe crabs, maybe, right? Do they die if they don't get a new little crab hut? No, they just don't get bigger, I don't think.
I think you're right on that.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think we're the only ones that it's like, if we don't find something like from our environment, we die.
And when we live indoors, we have central heat and air, we have running water, flushing toilets, medicine. God, pathetic.
Well, because then when you think about that, like, or like, say if we're, let's get crazy here. Say we're part of a further advanced species of humanoids, right? Like you and I, and it's part of their way of populating these planets, the habitable zones. They're like, they put us there. They're like, okay, we're adaptable. We give, some parameters for these ancient civilizations to start, and we can come back and check, and we know that another batch of humanoid species is going to be thriving in a couple, tens of thousands of years or 100,000 years, whatever.
Yeah.
Because then if you think about it like that we're just like, there's some progenitor race that drops us off, and it's like, I always like that theory, because I'm like, I always go back to, there's uncontacted tribes of humans that live, thousands of years behind us technologically, and we just go, don't contact them, just let them be.
Well, yeah, like, what's that that island that missionary went to, and he got killed? It's near, I believe it's India.
Yeah, they're like,
What is the name of that Somebody in the chat, please help me. God, I can't think of the name of it. I was just reading about it. Is it Sentinel Island, North Sentinel Island?
Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, you like perfect example. Like you just don't go there. Don't disrupt their lives. Don't interfere. Everything's fine.
Yeah. So we as the top civilization on the planet, we go, don't contact these people, even though like we would make their lives exponentially better. We could improve their their life expectancy, birth rates, like, and I'm not talking we could give them an iPhone. Like we could make like cure diseases that they perish from and suffer from and lose loved ones and have failed pregnancies. We could solve 99% of that, but we're like, no, let them be primitive. And then I go in my head and I go, how fucking small-brained is that for us that we go, well, who's to say there's not another level of human or humanoids above us technology, like even like 200 years more advanced than us, that look at us, right? And they go, hey,
leave those idiots alone.
Leave Earth alone. Let them. They're fucking working on it, right? They'll get there.
They might get there,
right? And it's the exact same thing. Like, just stepped up. We do it to humans on Earth. Are we saying it's impossible to do it to that? There's not more humanoids in the galaxy doing it to us. Like, I kind of do that step, right? That logical step process. Kind of interesting.
Man, I'm still going back to that. What if we're the aliens and the flora and the fauna here were the natives? Like, I'm just like, that just keeps circling back, man. That's gonna be the dream that I have tonight.
Yeah,
that's gonna be. I'm just gonna like wake up in the middle of the night and just be like, I'm sorry to everything. I'm gonna go outside. And I'm just gonna like hug the tree out front of my apartment. I'm gonna go on my back porch and like whisper sweetly to my tomato plant, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna I'm gonna have a minute of moments.
And if you're listening, you're enjoying this conversation, you want to get on 1-833-703-0424. You got an idea or something you want to share? We're just fucking drinking beers, shooting the shit here. So feel free to jump on in. It does make you think though. Like, so when you think about like if that's the case, we're the aliens in all this plant and fauna. When you see like Earth from like at night and you just see the spreading out of lights and stuff, like it's like we're taking over. We're fucking we're not here to make friends. We're here to take over. We gotta call in line. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey,
Holy, I can barely hear you.
I can't hear the caller at all.
Hey, this is Lane calling from Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Can you hear that? Peter?
Hello?
Hold on 1 second. I just got to fix this for Peter here. 1 second. Stand by.
That's so weird.
Well,
worked for the first call. Nothing changed.
I know what happened. You know what happened? I think the call dropped and then it didn't get re-shared properly. Let's try this. All right, what's your name again?
This is Lane calling from Fayetteville, Arkansas.
What's going on?
What is going on?
Oh, not much. I was just calling about a possible skinwalker sighting in Kansas.
Oh,
dish everything. Go.
Hold on. I gotta put some real spooky music on for this.
Yeah, you gotta get deep in the spookiness. We gotta tee this call up.
Yeah.
A skinwalker sighting?
All right, let's hear it.
No way.
All right, let's go. Let's hear it.
So during Christmas break one time when I was in high school, I was driving to meet my friends for dinner. And I was driving down a back country road, and I turned down this one road, and I saw a weird-looking deer standing on its hind legs, just off in the ditch.
Just chilling?
Ooh.
Just totally...
It kind of just followed me with its head as I drove by, just watching me.
Wait, just like standing hind legs and its head is just tracking you as you drive by?
Yeah. Like I can feel it like staring into my soul.
Oh,
So,
I hate that.
Is this like a fucking like caught red-handed situation? Like you felt like the deer was like, oh, like to not make no pun intended, but like deer in headlights it was giving you.
No, it looked like it hated me for turning down that road.
Oh, weird. This is in Arkansas, you said?
No, this takes place in Kansas.
Kansas.
Kansas, okay.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of where the other. I had another skinwalker call. I don't remember where that happened. Did you slow down or anything, or you were like too freaked out?
I sped off about as fast as I can go.
I mean, I don't blame you. Is there like skinwalker legends in the area that you knew about before?
Honestly, I don't think there is any. We don't really have that stuff in Kansas.
Well, brother, it sounds like you do.
Yeah, you do now.
Guess I'm the only one. I haven't really heard much about it otherwise.
I've seen. Not really. I've never seen a deer. I've seen deer like stand up for a second, but not stand and chill.
Yeah, like if they get scared and rear up, that's one thing. But standing,
and
like
chilling,
no.
It didn't look like a normal deer either. It looked like everything was kind of like elongated, like not proportional to a normal deer.
Ew, like it looked like this deer maybe was meant to stand on two legs.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
And it wasn't like the size of like an elk or anything like larger than what a deer might have been. It just looked like a deer, but more.
Yeah, just everything was a lot longer. Kind of like what a tall person would look like, but like in deer form.
Ooh.
Oh, that's weird. I mean,
yeah,
that deer.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't have stopped either, so I don't blame you for that because that deer would have fucked you up. Someone in the chat's asking,
terrifying.
Did it antlers? How big was the rack on it?
Oh yeah, how many points?
I would say it's a solid 6-pointer.
Oh, buddy, that's a trophy. That's a trophy buck.
Hey, if I had the 3-6 with me, it would have been a trophy buck.
Yeah.
I mean, trophy buck, or is it though?
Yeah, that's true.
That's
a huge. That's a big old rack on that thing too. Like, was it uniform or like misshapen rack at all?
It was pretty uniform. I didn't really pay too close attention to it, but it didn't look all fucked up.
So here's my other question: what kind of deer are in your area? In this area?
It would have been whitetail deer.
Okay, well, whitetails aren't that big.
No, especially in Kansas, they don't really get that big.
Do you guys have muleys?
Maybe in western Kansas. This takes place in like eastern Kansas, close to Missouri.
Pretty much just whitetail country.
Pretty much. I don't think we have anything else.
See, those deer don't get like super big. I mean,
no, they don't.
Not like, because if you were like, yeah, there's huge muleys. Listen, I've seen some monster muleys, but like that's that standing and just watching the car drive by, like
hard no.
And someone's asking, is there moose? Any moose in that area?
No. Deer is about all we have in Kansas.
Deer, and I mean, moose is pretty fucking. Moose are pretty, like they're
huge.
They're fucking terrifying.
Huge. And they're
huge.
ugly. Like they're like noticeable. I don't think anyone's seeing a moose and being like, is that a deer? Like they're so uniquely like, you're like, whoa.
I think
moose are very unique.
My wife's sister works up in Alaska and deals with caribou and moose and like all these large animals too. And she's seen bull moose that are like pushing well over 1,000 pounds, and like white-tailed deer might top out at 150, 200 if they're real big. So like, no way, man. you saw something.
Moose are the size of a small car.
For real.
Well, and like, and some Duchess of Doobies in the chat saying, and the fact that this thing's just mean mugging you, like just fucking staring you down. It's like when you drive past like a person at night who's like walking their dog and they just are like, in their bathrobe or something, and they just like, you ever hit them with the highlights and they just like stare you down as you go by. Like there's like, who is this in my neighborhood? Like that's basically the look it was giving you.
It was more like a driving by a crackhead at night.
Yeah, there you go.
Just that good look.
Yeah, except it's a deer standing on its two legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrifying. I mean, this is going to be a tough one, but like, any estimate on the height you think? You said it was in the ditch,
Well, it was standing in a ditch, and it was standing right next to like a cattle farmer's field, where it has like a fence, and its head was a little bit above the fence, so I'd probably say 6 feet tall.
That's
give or take, maybe 7.
Yeah, I mean that's big. That's a big standing up. Is
yeah,
it though?
it was fucking big.
It's fucking. If they rear up, but they don't stand up straight. Like that's the thing. They deer like I'm thinking they rear up, but they're never like straight up and down.
Yeah,
No.
They'll kind of do like what a dog does when they get treats, but they can't stay there very long.
Yeah, that's weird. That's a strange one. I'm like I've never seen that.
Yeah, no, I've never seen a deer do this before.
Yeah, same. Never.
You ever drive that road since then?
Not without a gun.
Well, yeah, a 6-pointer. I mean,
yeah.
It's. Does it worry you? Like, do you think about like? I had another person who called in, and I asked them this question: how often do you think about this thing?
Almost every day.
Right.
Yeah, this was probably like 4 years ago when I first started driving, and I just think about it every day since then.
The other guy who called in and told me his skinwalker story, he said kind of the same thing, and he's like got GoPros and he drives the same road all the time because he's like, I think about it all the time, what I saw. That's so weird. It's just such a weird thing to have those kind of experience, and then you're just like, I'm going to, like you just don't know what it was.
Yeah, what makes it even crazier is it was like maybe 2 minutes outside of town, so it wasn't very far from the population.
Oh, that's even crazier though.
Yeah.
Like how much now, how much would you say, how big's the city? Like how big's the township?
It's a pretty small town. It's a college town, so there might be 26,000 people there during college.
That's
and like maybe 20
it's
without.
I'm kind of curious. I know I'm just gonna throw this out there. I know you don't know it, but I'm just gonna throw it out there for the listener and stuff. I'm curious in my head if the missing person report in that area is more than the national average.
Not really. I don't think so. I haven't looked at averages, but it's not very high. When like if you hear about a missing person on the news, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, usually in those kind of smaller towns and stuff, word gets around pretty quick. But I'm just kind of curious. I'm kind of curious about that. The skinwalkers. I mean, I guess it's not really like maybe a Wendigo.
Yeah,
that's kind of something I thought about, if it was like a skinwalker or a Wendigo or something like that. But we really don't have any Native American tribes around there, so I don't know.
Well, I mean that you know of. I mean that land could have been taken away.
Well, yeah.
Right, and you have no idea what that's built on, or what went down hundreds of years ago. So yeah.
Yeah, I do know it used to be a mining town back in like the 1800s for coal.
Yeah.
I've kind of thought that was something to do with it.
Have you ever heard, speaking of coal mines, have you ever heard of the Van Meter monster?
I have. I think I watched your guys' case file on that.
Anytime I hear someone that's from a mining town, that fucking story freaks me out about.
Yeah, that's the one where they plugged up the mine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a mining town, and they just blew up the mine. They're like, no, like,
yeah,
those things went back in, and we fucking sealed them in.
Yeah, that was freaky. We don't really we don't have mines like that. We have strip mines.
Oh, okay.
That kind of turned into like rivers and stuff.
Interesting. All right. So no fucking light beam pterodactyls coming out of coming to get you.
Unfortunately, but there's stories of like dead bodies being dropped in those
Oh.
strip pits.
See, but who are the people who are dropping the dead bodies getting caught?
Probably eventually.
Well, eventually. Well, I'm like, is it this fucking 6-foot deer that's fucking roaming the countryside?
Yeah.
It might be.
It's fucking terrifying. Hey, man, thank you so much for calling in with that. That's
Thanks for calling in.
nightmare fuel.
Hey, thanks for picking up. I love you guys' show. It gets me through my day every day.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Cheers,
Thank
bud.
you.
Bye.
Yep, cheers. Bye.
6 points. Someone's saying in the States they measure total points, not points on
So then, so what would that? So that would have been what? If it was 6, that would have been small.
3 aside.
3 aside.
Yeah. Well, unless, but is it all states measure that?
I would assume so. DNR from state to state ain't gonna change their rules and regulations that much. I guess.
That's weird to think because so 6 point is for me that would be 6 points on one side. That's fucking.
That'd be huge.
That's a big rack.
I mean, there's a forest preserve right near where we live here in the city. One of the biggest ones actually. If you look it up, the LaBaugh Woods, loads of crazy shit's happened in there over the years. But just on Christmas Day, in 2023, my wife and I went out for a walk because it was like almost 50 degrees, and we were like, oh, we'll bring some like stale bread to feed the ducks that swim along the little tributary of the Chicago River. And we ended up just tossing bread to these huge deer, like some of the biggest ones we've seen in the forest preserve up until this time that we've lived in this area. And I mean, a couple of them had to have been, by your measurement, 3 on both sides. Maybe one of them was 4 on both sides, so 8. But some of them are just real big, and people always try to get so close to them, and they always get the wrong end of the rack.
No,
so stupid.
Yeah,
and you don't even know if that thing's a skinwalker. What if it was?
Yeah,
what if that thing just decided to stand up and fuck you all kinds of up?
And a
deer,
no way.
A
deer will fucking piece you up with those hooves.
Oh
too.
yeah.
Like, oh man, they will win.
They will win.
Just giving you the pause. That's an interesting one. Like I've been getting more and more into like the Native American like folklore and the legends and stuff. I have a really dope First Nations mask now. I probably can't see it.
Can't see it from the UI, unfortunately. Oh yeah.
Right? Fucking kind of spooky. A friend of mine.
A little bit.
I gotta look up what that mask meaning is, but it's cool. But it kind of like makes you think some of these like legends and stuff, because like one person called in about a flying head he saw, and it's just like a head in the woods with like an unusually big smile. And he told me the story about like how this thing like followed him, and then he would walk towards it to see it, and he would get a certain distance, and then it would disappear, and he'd be like, "What the fuck?" And then he'd always see it in the same spot, and it's like, I have another friend who tells the story, and I've tried to get him on to come on the show and tell the story. He was in the woods on Vancouver Island, and he was just chilling in his car, and he went up to the woods, and all of a sudden, all these people in like black and wearing these wooden masks came out of the woods, and they just kind of circled his car, and they all like he was like down like a Forest Service road, and they just kind of circled his car, and they were like looking weird, and then they walked away. And like walked into the woods, and he got out and was like, "Whoa, what?" Like yelling for them. And then he like told some friends, and they're like, "Oh, those are like native spirits in the woods that like it's a legend." And he like to this day like tells me this story all the time, and it's so freaky. So it's like, is there some weird shit out there we don't know about? Fucking maybe, I don't know.
There's gotta be, man. I mean, back in 2022, September 2022, my wife and I went to Ireland. We were supposed to take this trip early 2020. Thanks, Big Rona. So we finally get to Ireland. We end up going over my birthday, and we took a train out to Sligo, the Northwest Ireland, just south of Donegal. So basically almost as north as you can go before you go into Northern Ireland. And there's like I think it's bluffs or cliffs of St. John and all that out in Sligo. And there's the Knocknaria Park. And it's like a national park. And they've got Queen Maeve's cairn. I don't know if you're familiar with Queen Maeve, but like one of like the first high queens of Ireland when it was still 4 kingdoms before it was united into one kingdom. And Queen Maeve's cairn is this, huge pile of stone, and apparently, they buried her standing up with a spear in her hand, staring over towards the north of Ireland. So even in death, she's like, come and get it. But when my wife and I hiked up there that day, it was like a nice misty, like 45-ish, 50-degree day, perfect hiking day. I just got up there and I was like, man, like there's like little like seating areas and like arrangements of stone that have been here for like 1,000 years. Something happened up here. Something happened after she was buried up here. And I couldn't shake this like palpable feeling about it. I was like, there has to be something going on here. And then the entire hike down, honest engine, just blackbirds landing along the trail like every like 2 to 3 minutes, just like landing, watching us, cawing, flying away, coming back. And not like, oh, these people might give us food. They were just like land, sit, stare, watch, caw, fly away, come back the whole way down the hike. I was like, I hope that's a good omen of some kind. I was like, man, there's something up there. There has to be.
It's weird. It's weird when you go to those areas where you just like have that like just you're like something's off here. I don't know what it is. The one that sticks out in my head where it was just like you could feel the weight in the air as I went and did a tour of the Cambodian killing fields.
Whoa.
And that, dude, I'm telling you, I got out of the cab and like started to walk to the area, and you were just like, oh my, like just the heaviness you felt in the area, and you're just like, it was so, and like I knew a little bit about the history before going, and then you walk up and there's a tower. I don't know how tall, 50 feet by, it's quite, and it's like a round glass drum. And it's just filled with human skulls as you walk up. And this place has the worst energy I've ever felt in any kind of place. And then you hear about like all the atrocities and you're just like, God damn. Right? So it's like, it's equally freaky when you go to these places and it doesn't have all those skulls, but you still have that feeling. You're like, fuck, I feel like something happened here.
Something. I mean, even something like more like straight up. We went to France last year for our honeymoon, and we went to. We were up in Normandy. I had lived there for a summer after high school, and we went to Omaha Beach.
Yeah.
And we saw all of the sites there, and we went to the American War Memorial there at Omaha Beach, and get a pin drop on the walkways. Like nobody chatted, nobody said anything. Like you might have heard like a couple of people like, "Oh, look over this way," like that kind of stuff. But as soon as you walk on that beach too, you're just like, I know what happened here. You might not know the extent of what happened. I mean, obviously we weren't there.
Yeah.
But the amount of life lost, like just the severity of an experience like that at that place, it's going to leave an indelible mark. Like whether you see it or not, you'll feel something.
I
mean,
it
just
we do something to the energy around us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a fucking real thing. We know when we're watching particles, they interact differently. So it's like when you have that much fucking trauma and like pain and misery and stuff on an area, like, yeah, like you said, there's no doubt in my mind that leaves some sort of mark through time.
Yeah, it has to. It absolutely has to.
So yeah, it's fucking weird to think about that.
I don't like even like so in a smaller, much smaller, but I think interesting, example. Like here in Chicago, we have I think arguably the greatest pub in the city, the Red Lion. This place is definitely haunted. If you come and talk to Colin Cordwell, he's the proprietor, the publican, the owner, the whatever you want to call him. He's a living legend. Absolutely, like one of my favorite people on the planet. He's one of the most opinionated, smart people I've ever met. And you'll see there was measles outbreak in the city. A bunch of people died, and when the building was residential, there was a major outbreak in that neighborhood. And people, have gone to that pub since the 80s, and they claim to have seen, like the Gray Lady of the Red Lion, on the stairs, which leads up to the library over the pub. So if you Google Red Lion Pub Chicago or the Red Lion Inn, and you look at it, like, you walk in, there's like a nice fireplace, there's books all over the place.
It's a cool looking, like the interior, like that is a cool looking.
It's so
it gives
cool.
You, like, it looks like a place that you'd be like, if you told me, you're like, yeah, this place is haunted, but it's a cool look. Like, doesn't look haunted, but it looks like it has some history to it. The building. It
genuinely, like, that place, like, you walk in, you sit down, you have a pint, you might have some food. My wife and I have gone there a bunch, and we'll sit there and just like chat with Colin, the barman, the owner, the publican. I can't decide what to call him. He has a sign behind the bar that says "The therapist is in Colin Cordwell," and I think that's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
But we'll ask him like, "Hey, what's going on here?" Since we last saw you. He just goes, "Well, I took a delivery, of some food for the kitchen the other day. We had the back door open so that way the delivery truck could bring the food in, and we had the freezer door open and the main refrigerator doors open, all three of them shut. When he's standing looking at all three of them in clear view, all of them just shut." And I'm like, wow, okay. So maybe you are being talked to by any of the previous victims of that measles outbreak or anybody that lived in the building beforehand. And it's crazy. I mean, it is also across the street from the Biograph Theater. If you haven't read into that place at all, you should look that up. John Dillinger, that name might ring a bell.
Yeah.
Strongly affiliated with that, and that's where he got gunned down. So there's a lot of stuff, man. A lot of haunted, crazy shit in Chicago, like that, all over the place.
Yeah, it's I would like to do more. I did a ghost tour in Victoria when I was down there. They have like a ghost walk, and you can read about all the history and like all the various like different ghost areas in the city and stuff. And it's the cool thing about that one in Victoria is it's when you're in Victoria, the one thing that always stands out to me, and it might not to everyone, but it really stands out to me because I fucking love aliens, I love conspiracies, all that shit. So there's a fucking Freemason symbol everywhere in that city. And then it's also, they say it's like one of the largest like the biggest Satanist worshippers are like located in Victoria, BC. And I've personally seen this on a walk. They have like an old graveyard with like a creepy church bell, and I've seen two people in black robes hanging out in the graveyard, and I was just like, well, that's interesting. And I'm like, well, I'm not going over. I'm not bugging anyone at 11 at night wearing robes in a graveyard. That's their business.
Yeah, you have a nice evening. Goodbye.
But it's kind of cool to like see that kind of history. I think that's listen, if you're listening and live in a big city, lots of big cities, especially with like rich in history, older cities, not new ones. Like if you live in a newer city, they have ghost walks and ghost tours and stuff that are usually pretty fucking cool. So yeah, I would definitely be into doing something like that. The Vegas one's fucking not that great.
I mean, dude, if you want a good one, here in the city, yeah, like as you said, a lot of big cities have had so much stuff happen in them. Like Chicago's not the oldest city here, of course, in America, but like it's pretty old.
Yeah, yeah. It's got
A lot of people here have had some wild shit, but there's a park district. Chicago Park District, has land and park buildings, all over the city, for like camps for kids, art classes, community events, all that stuff. And there was a sanitarium, the Municipal Tuberculosis Sanitarium Complex at the Peterson Park, land not far from here. And when I was younger and I was a music teacher in the Park District, I used to help out running a haunted house called Trails of Terror there. And they picked that place specifically because not a lot of people, have heard this, and some people don't believe it, but no, it's totally true. There's the Peterson Park building, and the field where they would have soccer games for kids was actually where a lot of bodies got buried as part of the sanitarium. And because it was bordered by a small forest preserve on a number of sides, it was a safe place for people with tuberculosis to go and, hopefully rehabilitate and not be close to the general population and, not get anybody else sick. So we used to do the haunt would be in the woods on that property. So even if like you didn't, want to hear anything about the actual story of what went on in this, little village, the North Park Village is called, you could probably go and get the crap scared out of you in this haunted house. And it was a lot of fun. It was really well put together. But the building itself, Peterson Park, it looks like probably an innocuous place. Like, oh, they've got like rooms for classes for people and stuff. And, and there's like a gymnastics center across the way, where the main building is. And there's, what's this large building with a huge smokestack? Oh, that's a crematorium.
Yeah.
Oh, and then if you really wanted to, go for the gold and the gusto and get really fucking scared, the basements of the Peterson Park building specifically, though, if you look, like the storage closets, they still have the doors when they were freezers, man. Because then you put two and two together and that building was the morgue.
Yeah.
So, like, I was literally helping run a haunted house out of a morgue near a crematorium in a tuberculosis colony with a giant field presumed to be, now sod covered with dead bodies under it in a forest preserve.
Covered in the soil is all ashes of.
Yep. And you walk through there, and there's just
bad juju.
There's just a vibe to that place, man. But it worked for running a haunted house there, man. People would run out of that fucking place screaming every night we had that open. It was awesome. Just capitalizing on that vibe.
That's
like,
so funny.
Great.
Yeah, it's as far as haunted houses go, I'm always trying to I'm trying to think of any, I've never really gone to a good one. I think I've just done ones at theme parks, so it'd be nice to go to one, like a legit one that was run as because the ones I've been to are gimmicky, you know what I mean, where it's you go in and it's woo, and then you come around the corner and there's a guy scares you, they shoot some compressed air at you, I would like to go to a legit. I think that'd be fun.
Dude,
the legit haunted area.
Yeah, I mean, if you want some, there's plenty here in Chicago, and if you want a high production value haunted house, there's one just outside of the city, maybe about 45 minutes. This area called Lockport. It's called Hell's Gate. It's routinely one of the best in the nation. My wife and I have been big fans of that. They actually let us take our engagement photos there.
I love it.
That place is rad. It's high production value. They built everything for this haunt. All of just waiting in line to get in there is an experience too, because they fog the area up. It's all well lit. People are running all over the place. You just it's just fun to watch people also scream and freak out. That's very entertaining.
Yeah.
That's a good one though. I really enjoy that one. What is this? Duchess of Do is you work at a haunted strip club? What?
Well, I think she sees Elvira behind you there, and she's.
Oh yeah, she's the queen, man.
I was gonna say, is that what got you into horror?
Yeah, my mom let me watch Sven Gulli. If you don't know him, legend of horror and Chicago's own. Sven Gulli and then Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, would come on after. And my mom was like, yeah, it's probably just campy horror. He'll be fine. So I discovered my love of horror and also discovered that I was a heterosexual male because I saw her.
Yeah.
And realized I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, you're like, something's happening to me.
Yeah,
I don't know what
something's
it is.
happening. I don't know what it is. But I think
Must
I like
be this horror.
Yeah, must be this really spooky movie I'm watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need context. Oh, someone died in the building. Whoa, that sucks. Damn. Hopefully not when you were working.
Oh, she worked at a haunted strip club. Oh, I didn't see that. I worked at. Oh. Did you ever see her on? Was it a she? Was she ever on stage? That's what I want to know. Now I'm good. Duchess, I know who you are. Why aren't you calling in and telling these stories on the show?
You need to be telling us this story.
Yeah, 1-833-703-0424. We need to hear a little bit about the haunted strip club. What's going on here? We need more.
Like, strip clubs bum me out. Like, I've been to them, like, been in two my entire life for, like, friends' parties. I get it, but this I need to know about. This I'm like, okay, what's going on here?
It was a man. Oh, was it a guy? Like, is a guy watching heart attack? What happened? Is he sitting?
He was just turned on. He died.
Can you hear the call coming in?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Fingers crossed. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's up, y'all? It's Duchess.
Yay! Yes! All right, tell us. We need to know about this haunted strip club. What's the story?
Okay, so it's like an old building. It used to be a radio studio, I guess. So it has like this weird big ass tower. So it's already like a creepy ass building. It used to be in a strip club for like 30 years or something. And for the past, I'd say like 10 years, it got revamped because of said situation. Basically, there was a robbery during the day. They attempted robbery, and they didn't expect anyone to be in the club. And the owner was actually in the office, and basically, motherfucker was strapped up and was like, basically protected himself in whatever the circumstances was. There's multiple stories as to how it happened, but basically the robber came in, didn't exit when he had a chance, and he got shot.
Now he's forever at the strip club.
Forever at the strip club. And there's like,
wow.
It's weird though, because I've heard stuff that's more like what I would think like a woman haunting. Like, I've been in the bathroom and I've seen because I get there early because I bartend. So I get there early and set up the situation before we even open. And I've been there before where there's no one else in the building except maybe like my boss in the office, and I'm in the women's washing my hands, looking in the mirror, and I see one of the stalls behind me. The door closes, and there's no one there. There's no like ventilation. There's no windows in the club, So that was my own like very close one. But there's always like the whole feeling of like from your peripheral you see people when there's no one there, and the whole hearing thing when no one's there. Like at close, when we're closing and it's fucking 4 o'clock in the morning and there's no one there besides maybe 1 or 2 people, you'll hear things like shuffling in the back when it's not supposed to be no one back there. Shadows, shit like that.
So do you get the vibe that this person is like is it like benevolent?
I don't feel like no malice.
No
I don't
malice?
feel like
Okay.
no type of like no malice or no like, but I do feel like an energy of like someone is there. Like you're never alone. I don't ever feel alone. Sometimes actually, this is recent. We were in the office just talking shit. There's no customers in, and the only people in the building are in the office, and we have cameras everywhere. And the front camera started fucking moving. It's moved twice by itself.
Nope.
Yep.
So that's such a yeah, someone in the chat saying forever cursed to look but never to touch.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's what's fucked up is like, again, like I don't get no, like maybe I guess creeper vibes because yeah, you can only ever, I mean, what a better way to live eternity or limbo, right?
Well,
like,
I mean,
it could be worse.
Yeah, but you know what?
It's much worse.
But maybe that is one of those things where it's like you're constantly reminded of like the temptations of life. You know what I mean? Where it's like, and there's nothing you can do except fucking swing door, bathroom doors closed. You're like, damn it, I'm stuck
just
here.
Watching girls in the bathroom for all eternity.
Yeah. I never thought about that. That's creepy. Yeah, that's some
Keeping
creeper.
calm for all eternity. Damn. Yeah.
But how do we know that guy didn't die in the champagne room though? That's
well,
what I mean. Because what if he was able to touch when he died? Like what if he reaches out?
Oh, also
from
lights
beyond?
turn off too. Like they turn on and off by themselves, and they're like the old hard switches. They're not like the
button ones or the
like industrial switches.
Yeah, I know.
You gotta like put your whole fucking arm into it. Yeah. So for them to turn off by themselves, it's not like a loose switch or nothing like that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, dude, I don't know. I'm like, we've had the conversation before where we talk about like, if traumatic incidences and stuff like that. So I don't know. I feel like I am on that side of the fence where I'm like, if it's traumatic enough or enough for at least that one soul, that one person that's like wiped off Earth so suddenly, didn't even, get the chance to understand like really what was happening. Because sometimes people go in situations blindly, you know what I mean? That's why they call it seeing red and shit like that.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of a subscriber to that too. Like it would make sense if this person was like gunned down there, and they had other plans or they had people they cared about. There's a lot they had going on, and this was like a
riding on that, yeah.
Right, and then it's like those worries and stuff linger, and that's what has made them kind of linger in our plane. Is that they're just like, no, I was supposed to leave here. There was things I had to do.
That unfinished business.
Yeah, that they're not letting go. It'd be interesting.
That they're not letting go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It'd be interesting to see if in the future, this in another decade or so, if this building still is still like haunted, but maybe it's stepping up like as the frustration grows of this spirit who's stuck. Without closure.
Like it's getting like it gains power over time.
Yeah, or just starts being like like you said, you didn't feel malice, but like maybe you start to feel that in another decade. You're like, if you go in there, you're like, oh, I feel like this is like I feel a real negative now, being in here.
Oh yeah.
So it'd be interesting.
Who's to say like energy like that couldn't change? Just like you're saying, like initially it's more of like an innocent or just like a in between, like I don't really know what's going on, so it's not harmful, but it's not exactly like warming. But then when it finally clicks, it could be like, oh fuck, let me do some shit.
Yeah,
I'm already here.
I'm stuck. Yeah, and he doesn't know how to leave. It's weird. Fucking gonna have to smudge that shit.
Yeah, exactly. I told him, I said I got some Palo Santo for y'all too. I gotta come in early and do it, but I gotta make sure I'm getting paid,
Yeah, oh yeah.
No free labor.
Well, and
you got to get paid.
And to be honest, I mean, you should be getting paid more if you're having to come in and do that. That's not in your job description.
Nope.
You should be subcontracting that shit out.
They didn't put that on the contract when I came in for my interview.
Yeah, hey, listen, ghost removal. That's steep.
I can add that to my resume now.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you should. You got to get that money.
But I just want to call in with that story. I know I said it. I think I mentioned it in the group chat a while ago, but yeah, it's about time I called in with it.
Hey, thank you so much for calling in and sharing with it. Yeah, you
I'm
can't
so glad you called in with that.
you can't tickle us with that in the chat and then not call in. So thank you for calling in.
Yeah.
Of course.
Duchess,
Have
and
a
thank
great
you
time.
so
Have a
much
great
for
night, you guys.
always supporting the show. You're one of the biggest supporters of the show. So huge shout out to you.
Of course. I love you guys.
All right.
Have a great one.
Take care of
Keep doing
yourself.
what you do.
Thank you. Good night.
Be easy. Bye.
Yeah, then that. I mean, I just think it'd be interesting to see someone like the stories in another decade or so. But hey, we gotta wrap this one up. We've been fucking riding along here, enjoying the beers, enjoying the conversation.
Absolutely.
That's gonna be the end of Cosmic Channels tonight. Peter, where can they find your stuff?
You can find Mortlach, Mortlach, on all streaming services and on Bandcamp. You can find Bloodletter, my main thrash metal band out of Chicago, on all major streaming services. And you can probably find me at a Renaissance fair, wishing I looked like this dude swinging a sword all over the country. But yeah, this has been rad, man. This was so much fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to jump on, and I'm glad we kind of connected and got to do this. That's gonna be it for this week, Cosmic Channels. Everyone, see you next week. Cosmic Channels is now closed.